What's going on, employment law students? This is Mr. Argueta coming to you week number 5. So we are essentially this week number 6, of course, looks very similar to this week. And then week number 7 will be your final week with us. You'll have 2 chapters in your final exam. So I encourage you, as I stated in my little brief overview of the week, to create your own sort of cheat sheet with the quiz questions that you get for each chapter, because that's what's going to help you with your final. It's not cumulative. It's going to be just the last half of the semester. Multiple choice. You have no time limit, but you have one shot at it. I think we did pretty good last time. You guys did pretty well. So this week we talk about 2 things, sexual harassment and we talk about religious discrimination. Our discussion's a doozy. It's a doozy. We're going to be talking about or discussing religious discrimination in the case of Chalmers versus Tulane Company of Richmond. It's gonna sound very interesting. I'm fascinated by this case. That all these cases are real. They took place in real life. The results are real. They're filed, but as I mentioned in the previous videos, the very first step is to establish what's called a prima facie or facies. And basically what you're doing there is you're going to establish that something has occurred. Some violation of a rule or law has occurred. You can't just accuse someone of something without having proven this prima facies. You have to show that there is a reason. You can't be like, you discriminated against me. And then say, well, the judge has to decide. No, you have to say how that happened and prove it. In this case, Chalmers, who is going to be the plaintiff, is going to say, I was discriminated against because my religious belief has been violated. My religious belief that I hold true requires me to do this. And as that, I have to be accommodated to that, So I'll give you an example, and this is a great example in regards to just in general. People will say stuff like that, and I've seen this happen in truth in Chicago. Even here in Georgia, a lot of companies don't offer Good Friday as a holiday, as a day off. But there are some strongly held religious beliefs around Good Friday, the Friday before Easter, and people, especially within certain religions, Christian religions, they require that day off to sort of hold, I guess, a ceremonial theme. So Good Friday is a typical day off. Well, in Chicago, of course, as you probably would imagine, is a very diverse environment. There are some people that would say, well, I am of a Christian belief and I need Good Friday off. And the first thing HR will do is they'll use this concept of prima facies and they'll say, or facies, and they'll say, you got to prove that you have been an active participant in some type of religious practice. So a lot of my friends who have taken this argument up when we had the situation, they'll say, well, I am of a faith that requires Good Friday off. And they say, well, how long have you been going to your church or temple or synagogue or whatever it's called? And they couldn't prove that they have attended or are members of any organized religion. So then they couldn't prove that to be, if they said, well, you have to come to work, there is no discrimination there. You can't argue that because you're not a practicing observer of this particular faith, so therefore you don't need Good Friday off. So similar situation in this case study. This person has been proven that they are participants and follow a certain religious belief, and they have 2 of the 3 sort of theories in place, but the last one, which requires the company to accommodate, becomes an issue. So the other thing, it's like in other situations, not only were religious accommodations, but other accommodations like disability accommodations. There was a case that we studied years ago in regards to like a person who went to a high-rise building that was built in, early 1900s, and it had no elevator. And someone with a wheelchair showed up and said, I want to work here. I qualify to work here, but the thing's on the third floor, and I have a wheelchair. I need you to accommodate for me. So, you know, can you build an elevator? And they took it to court, and the court said no, it has to be a reasonable accommodation. You can't put an what's the terminology they use, an unnecessary burden on the company. So one thing is letting you off for the day. The other thing is creating a burden that's unbearable for the company to handle. So the company couldn't afford to install and retrofit an elevator into this old building just to accommodate this person's wheelchair use. Now they could have found other arguments like, oh, can you have me in the first floor office or some sort of, I don't know all the details right now, but the key word here in any of these scenarios is a reasonable accommodation. So don't think that just because you grab a hold of this argument that they have to bend over backwards to accommodate for you. That's not true. It has to be reasonable accommodation. It has to be something that's within the realm of reason, where the common person will look at it and be like, well, it's not that hard. A company can afford it. It's not that big of a burden to them. Yes, but if it becomes beyond the efforts of like, how are we supposed to do this, then the company legally does not have to accommodate to that. So I'm very excited about this case study because I know that we are in an environment that holds a lot of practices when it comes to their religious upbringing and practices. So I'll be interested to hear your case study. Now remember, I want you to think from a legal perspective. Separate yourself emotionally from the case and look at it from a legal perspective, not from a religious perspective. So look at it from a legal perspective and what the law provides. And I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. That's not my job. What I'm saying is, as business people, sometimes we need to understand that from a legal perspective, there are times where we might not agree, but that's what the law states at this point until the law is either updated or changed. Other than that, so don't forget, we got 2 weeks left, and then we go into our final week. I just received an email in regards to my announcement that I put out yesterday. There are some students, for some reason, and I can't determine why, their grades do not synchronize properly all the time. It doesn't affect everyone. It only affects a few students for whatever reason. But McGraw-Hill's engineers department just sent out an email to me and said the problem should be fixed. So I just got it. So if you're in principles of management, I didn't even include that in the announcement because it is 1 o'clock now. Their video was posted and made a little earlier. So you get, off the presses, straight off the presses news. So up to date and current. Anyhow, I have mentioned I'm staying hydrated, drinking a lot of water today. I drank like a couple cups of coffee, some double shots, and yesterday I was a little dehydrated from it, but today I am back on the hydration wagon. It has been beautiful the last couple days out here. It's nice, and it's been warmer. I like the weather, enjoy it, and looking forward to it. So other than that, guys, I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful week. Let me know if you need anything from me, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Take care, everyone. Until next time. Adios.